Alright, let's do this. Welcome back to the Divine Deception. Almost got everybody's Chapter 7 unlocked except for Mr. Devon. So, let's bust our way in. The Hidden Ace. Tch. What is our boy up to now? God darn it. God damn it. Walked down the Panthean streets with an unparalleled rage. Well, unparalleled may have been putting it too strongly. I had felt quite angry at various periods in my life. But still, this was a strong contender for my frustration. On that roof, I had dedicated myself to a cause. With righteous fury, I made my intentions perfectly clear. 5 targets. 6 bullets. I'd clean up my mistakes. I'd clear the record. It was as simple as that. It was supposed to be as simple as that. And yet, damn it. I kicked a discarded can lying around on the sidewalk. This was a particularly bad part of Panthea, less populated. That was better for me. I didn't want my walk interrupted. If I ran into trouble, I wouldn't care. At this point, if I was going to get mugged or something, I might just whip out my pistol and fire 2 slugs into my assailant's stomach. That was how checked out I was. Not a 1. 5 targets. I had been unable to seal the deal, hell, get even close to touching any of one of them. All for completely different reasons. And the other day, God, that was the most embarrassing incident of them all. Well, shame on me, I guess. That's what I deserved for putting my fate so blindly in another's hands. Oh? This was my quest for redemption. Obviously it wouldn't work unless I was the one carrying the search out. What was I thinking, heading there? I mean, what was I supposed to do? At that point I had already searched and failed. I was running out of options. So when I was gifted such confident-sounding information regarding one of my targets, what exactly was I supposed to do? I had to take the chance. I had made preparations. Got to the scene early. Suddenly knocked out nearby cameras, prepared an escape. I know keeping myself hidden wasn't the top of my priority, but even still, I couldn't afford to be captured at this point. Not until I had finished this. The meeting would be late, but not in the middle of the night. The chances for witnesses were very much present. I wasn't willing to just dispose of anyone who saw something they shouldn't have. So then, escape route was critical. I also put on a disguise when I arrived at the ambush point. Nothing flashy. The city had a thing for flashiness. Apparently one Duat hotshot went as far as making this whole custom mask with a voice modulator or anything and everything. Devon doesn't approve of Thane's gimmick. Fair. Flair with no substance. I didn't respect that 1 inch. Jobs of this nature are not to be celebrated, they are to be carried out. No, I simply put on a maroon ski mask, gloves, and boots, and called it a day. That would most likely suffice. I still remember the thoughts that went through my head as I crouched there, holding my breath. Back when I still naively believed that things were legit. The anxiousness that tickled the pit of my stomach. Unfortunately, I had resigned myself to giving up on the ideal of killing all the targets in a single action. I realized quickly gathering so many people of disparate backgrounds in a single room, for my position at least, was untenable. Still, I could make the most of this encounter. Soon enough, I believed Laverna would be meeting with me. Oh? Laverna was a private investigator. A fairly good one, too, if my research was correct. She'd taken on a fair amount of cases, including the one in relation to my botched assassination attempt of Polydesma. I was confident that she would have some information that would be useful towards my end. I'd extort that information out of her at gunpoint. And then, when I was confident she had no more use, I'd fire a bullet through her head. 1 down. 4 to go. It was a pretty good plan, I felt. There was just one problem. It hinged on entirely inaccurate information. As I'd soon learn, Laverna had absolutely no intention to visit me. In fact, I doubt Laverna even knew about the meeting spot. Right as the meeting time began to approach, I heard a dull whirring. Whirring? What the? What kind of... Why was there a whirring? And hold on. Why was it coming from so high? Drone? I need to answer those questions quickly, because the whirring was getting closer and closer. After a moment, I realized what it had to be. It made no sense. It baffled the mind. It felt borderline sci-fi. The only thing that I could think of that would make a sound like that in a location like that would be a drone. Some sort of flying drone was entering the meeting area. Was it the killer variety? Was it attached to something? Luckily, I was hiding behind a dumpster. That wouldn't buy me long. I reached inside my coat pocket. I almost felt like laughing to myself. And I had brought it, but the idea that this would actually pay off had barely crossed my mind. Just another reminder to always come prepared for the worst 5 scenarios. At least I had learned one useful thing from Odin. One more than I cared to admit. I didn't have time to look back. Instead, I threw out the hand mirror I had stuffed in my inner coat pocket out from behind the dumpster towards the nearby grate. From its reflective surface, I got a decent look at what I was up against. Sure enough, it was a small helicopter drone with a clear camera approaching. Luckily, it didn't look super sophisticated and dangerous, but I didn't have time to give it a good look. I used the mirror and the noise to approximate the location of the drone. I pulled out my pistol. In an instant, I jumped out from behind my hiding spot. I fired 2 bullets at the drone and prayed. To my delight, the shot struck true, and the drone fell to the floor. Good. However, I couldn't be content yet. Far from it, I couldn't imagine sending a drone my way was the full extent of the plan. If anything, it was the opening barrage. I considered abandoning my escape route. What if it was compromised ahead of time? Maybe I should shoot off the lock of the fence behind me and run that way. But no, that was dumb. It was far more likely that whoever set this up accounted for me fleeing the opposite direction than it was that they anticipated my escape route. So I ran out and to the left. Then up, and to the right. Mind blank, only focus on escape. Before I knew it, I was a fair distance away from the scene in an abandoned attic. And then, I just hid. For over an hour, I ducked behind a spare box and hid. In my experience, people were far more likely to assume you immediately tried to make a getaway. They never expect someone to hide out so close to the scene they started at. So I hid for a while. After hearing nothing eventful, I reluctantly got up. And then, quite cautiously, I made my way back to the scene of the crime. Crime, quote-unquote. Scene of the intended ambush, to be more accurate. My path back was quite slow and deliberate. Careful to be sure I wasn't being watched or walking into a trap. Eventually, though, I ascertained that there was, in fact, nobody waiting for me. I walked back into the alley. To my slight surprise, nobody had bothered to take the drone back. This caused me to reassess how big a threat I actually was dealing with. That reassessment continued as I looked over the drone. This wasn't elite tech. This was commercial trash. As far as I could tell, the drone that had been piloted down this alleyway was the type that you could order from an electronics store. A bit pricey, sure, but far from exclusive. It didn't even come equipped with many notable features. A few cameras, for one. Let you actually see where you're driving it. A speaker as well, with a microphone presumably coming with the controller. And other than that, nothing. No guns, no turrets, no bomb. It was unimpressive. Unthreatening. Huh. So then what was the purpose of this little drone assault? Just what, to capture me on video? To get a clear look? Possibly. But that felt weird. The person who contacted me had access to my private number. Surely they would know me and my deal, right? Or maybe not. Maybe I was assuming too much knowledge on their part, too much competence. They hadn't exactly been wordy when tipping me off. I pondered these questions. I didn't have a clear answer. I still didn't. I thought about it more, still came up with no leads. It was a thoroughly weird interaction. Frightening one too, at least on my part. But it left more questions than answers. And more importantly, more disappointingly, it was of little use to me. Negative use, if anything. It had wasted my time, a significant amount of it too. It had gotten my expectations up. All for nothing. I shook my head. Useless. Dumb on my part. How desperate was I for a lead? Pretty desperate as it turned out. My search for leads was turning up painfully short. Was this why I never really handled preliminary intel? Was I not really built for it? Was that the problem? No. It wasn't my fault. Me and Miss Aisha had also had trouble getting details on these people. And she hired the best. If there was little to be known about my target, that wasn't an accident. It was quite intentional. But by who? Targets themselves, I supposed. Still, it was weird. There's been people to hide their presences so thoroughly. Unnatural. My instincts were telling me this was unnatural. See, it sounds easy to go into hiding. How hard could it be? But it's a lot more complicated than you'd think. Actually, take a second to picture all the activities that comprise daily life. All the activities that you do. Think of all the possible trails those activities could leave. Every single way that every single action you do might ripple out, leaving a thread that connects back. Finding these threads could be hard, sure, but erasing them completely was harder. Well, perhaps I shouldn't be surprised that I was unable to dig up anything about Locke. He had a criminal's blood in him, no doubt. I tried recapping everything I knew about him. He had recently moved from a different city. He had recently made a habit of attending Nahoi's nest. Although thanks to my little blundered attempt, that's probably come to a screeching halt. I had also learned that he was acting as Bach's campaign manager. I thought that might be a lead. Despite the surveillance I put on Bach's apartment, it was no dice. My cameras had turned up nothing at the time I had set them up. There was no telling how long it might take for them to actually pay out. There was nothing to suggest that Locke actually met with Bach in person. Well, we know that to be not true, so either Locke has found a way through Devon's security, or Devon's security was not airtight. Maybe they had a separate meeting spot. Maybe they just communicated digitally. Or maybe Aisha had some influence on this too. I couldn't say. Well, perhaps threatening Bach directly could get me somewhere. But then Bach was Aisha's campaign rival. There were pictures of me. No, going directly after Bach was a line I could not cross. Shouldn't cross. But in the absence of the Bach lead, I was completely without a direction in my search for the elusive Locke. It was like he didn't exist outside of the context I had seen him in. that was likely the truth. See, there was one other piece of log information that I had recently come into possession of. Something very demoralizing. After another call with a reluctant Aisha, I learned that Locke had actually appeared before her in her office. So unbeknownst to Aisha, I snuck back into her office when she was away. I combed the floor of the place thoroughly and found a hair that exactly matched the type that Locke had. Given the placement of the room, against a faraway bookshelf, I was confident that this belonged to the person who blackmailed Aisha. I sent the DNA sample away for testing at a third-party site, hoping that perhaps something would come of it. And something did. Turns out what I sent wasn't DNA. Or at least not the way I thought. The hair was from a wig. Wig? That's right. The grainy photographs I had of Locke didn't even capture what he really looked like. We know he has plenty of disguise potential, but I did not expect that. He was wearing a wig. With that in mind, who's to say what else might be a lie? Maybe he wore makeup. Maybe he had small stilts in his shoes. Couldn't know anything for certain about him. Not his age, not his gender, and certainly not his name. I mean, Locke. Yeah, I had penned that for bullshit from the start. Anyways, the fact of the matter was, everything I thought I knew about this guy was pure smoke. In truth, my target was a phantom, one with no connections. I really had 3 options for finding him. 1, I combed every inch of the city looking to find where he stayed. 2, I pressured Bach into giving up his link. Or 3, I somehow made Locke want to come out of hiding on his own. The third one seemed the most viable. But how? It was a brain teaser. One that hurt to think about. So let's not focus on Locke. Let's focus on someone else. Say, Laverna. She should be much easier. She was a private investigator, after all. She was out doing work. It was just a matter of hiring, then killing her, right? That was my first plan. Got in contact with her through her website. And true, at first it appeared to be a promising lead. She responded quite quickly, intrigued by the fake crime I was offering to pay her to solve. Thought for certain that I had her. She should be the easiest target. However, after I explained this crime in further detail, she rejected my offer. Called it boring. Not worth her time. Excuse me? That's not how private investigators worked. You don't accept or deny jobs based on how boring they might be. Felt like screaming. But okay. Persistence. I'd try again. Made an alternate email account, waited a bit so as to not seem suspicious, and sent her another offer. This crime should be more to her tastes. And yet, this time she rejected me in a single email. The nerve! I tried this process 3 more times, but no matter how my story, she'd reject the offer in a single email. What was even happening? I tried to get in contact with her other clients to see if I could get more perspective. After I did some research, I stumbled into another shocking discovery. Most of the reviews on her website were fake. Seriously? It was one roadblock after another with this woman. I did actually hit a real review. Turns out she did do some legitimate work despite it all. However, after meeting with the old lady, it was clear she wasn't going to give me anything useful. I changed my tune. I tried looking into where this Laverna Smith lived. Despite my efforts at intelligence gathering, again, I came up empty-handed. Perhaps this wasn't a total surprise. Detective work was a dangerous job. Setting up some precautions might have been warranted. Still, it presented a problem. There were basically only 2 ways I could get to Laverna. Create, one way or another, a crime scene that would actually convince Laverna to come out and investigate. Or ambush her when she's on the way, at, or leaving an actual investigation. Unfortunately for that second option, it seemed like most of her investigations these days were ones where the police were involved. Not great ambush material. Quite. While she was a far more public and attainable target than, say, Locke, she would be hard to get my hands on. Still, she was at least easier than my third target. Polly. My brother. At one point I would grapple with the morality of killing him, but I was over that. I was under no disillusion about Polly's true nature. He was as much of a snake as all of Odin's children. He just hid his fangs better than Art for me. Honestly, the thought of killing Art also had some creepy thoughts. What? What? I'm alright. What? What am I... I don't know what happened to my brain there, but honestly, the thought of killing Art had also crossed my mind. I mean, for removing loose ends, he certainly was one. However, he had some deal with Miss Aisha. Provided support to her campaign. I had recently assumed that Miss Aisha wouldn't want Art dead, and so I couldn't touch him. But if Polly died, Art would have to make good on his deal with Miss Aisha. He'd be in her debt. So Polly was on the hit list. If I had to just kill him, that wouldn't be too much of a problem. The issue was killing him and getting away with it. Polly seemed to be making the deliberate point of staying clear. Staying either in places I couldn't reach or places with multiple people. He was far from a businessman, yet he was working extra hours on that restricted floor in the Olimpo main building. He was spending his nights with other people. Spending nights with other people in fortified places, not to mention. I think he had a bag of various security devices he brought from the place to place. Most importantly, he wasn't staying with one person for too long. He was frequently on the move, which made tracking him down a pain, and planning an assault an even bigger one. If I wanted to kill him, he might have been the easiest target. But to make a clean getaway would be tricky. There were basically 3 tacks towards murdering Polly. I could try attacking him at night. However, since he moved so frequently, I probably wouldn't have time to prepare or do the required surveillance. I knew he was setting up multiple layers of security everywhere he stayed, and Polly was deceptively clever. If I went in blind, the odds I could stumble upon a trap of his were quite high. He had bodyguards before. It was a dangerous prospect. The second tact would be to attack him for the day. However, as I mentioned, he spent most of the day in Olimpo's restricted floor. Just getting there would be a struggle. And getting out. No, an assault in the Olimpo building would be a suicide mission. I could only target Polly this way if he was the last of my victims. Kill the other 4, and then we could talk. Till then, the option was out. The final attack was the miscellaneous other category. Polly was unpredictable, and not always logical. There was a chance an opportunity would present itself where he wouldn't be under heavy surveillance of some type. If that opportunity came about, then I'd be sure to jump in and take advantage of it. The only problem was I had no concrete ideas about how to create such an opportunity. 3 targets down, and all presented significant problems in assassination. Which brought us to Polly's bodyguards. Let's get started with a slightly more tangible force, Krish. Tangible? According to police reports, there's only 1 bodyguard. But there were 2, and I got a decent look at both. Krish was apparently a known figure in Panthea. A lot of people could speak to their character. Gospel kid was the common. Good kid was the common sentiment. Gospel kid? What is my brain is misaligned today, apparently. I'm seeing things. Which led me to a question. Should Krish be on the list of targets? Of course. They had to be. They had seen me in action. They had stopped me from doing what needed to be done. They were a bullet. Surely. Getting to Krish should have been easy. They were an extremely known quantity in this city. I get a ton of info on them. They weren't particularly powerful. So then what was the issue? The issue was Krish was missing. Apparently they had pissed off the Duats some time back. Nice going, kinda. Way to make it harder on both of us. Since then, Krish had been in hiding. The Duats were unable to locate them. So where could they be? I actually hadn't answered that. At least I knew where they were up until recently. They were acting as a bodyguard to Polly. I have no idea how that arrangement happened. That was probably intentional on Polly's part. Clever of him, I have to admit. Untraceable bodyguards are hard to predict. Anyways, somehow Krish on the run from the Duats, he wound up under the protection of my kid brother. Then I came and burned down Polly's house. Yeah, about that. I swear my head is not on straight today for some reason. Krish on the run with the Duats, thrown under the protection of my brother. Then I came and burned down Polly's house. Yeah, that happened. With that in mind, I can make a decent guess of where Krish is now. He's been hiding out somewhere, courtesy of Polly. Only fair. Krish had held up their part of the bargain, so Polly was shielding them from the Duats. Only inadvertently, he was also shielding them from me. This raised issues. The Duats were even more prolific at getting information than me. Anyone with ears to the ground knew about the Duat information network. Getting around them was a bigger hassle than getting around the police, and that's discounting Ariane's influence on things. Part of the Duats' whole shtick was that they had a monopoly on Panthean crime. Obviously didn't like the thought of some no-name assassin not working on their dime. So I had to be careful so as to not be detected by them. And I had managed it, but it was hard. So if the Duats hadn't found Krish, I had to assume that Polly was doing a decent job at keeping them under wraps. Still, normally I could work around this. Krish must have been close to people. I just had to get creative with the use of leverage. Take their father. If I held him hostage, surely this would get Krish out of their shell. I think of plenty of tricks like this. But there was one major issue roadblocking them all. I had no assurance that Krish would actually hear about any of this. If Polly was smart, he would have told Krish something like, "Well, the only thing on my end, all I need to do is stay hidden and stay silent. When the Duat problem is handled, you can leave. For now, just live comfortably in this prepared hiding spot." Krish was like to be completely secluded away, both from prying eyes and extraneous information. That was the way to do it. With no desire to leave hiding, no way to compel them, Krish was basically invincible. There was exactly one way to get to Krish. I needed Polly to tell me where he had hidden them away. This wouldn't be such an issue, but then, see the problems with killing Polly. I could only reliably get to Polly in a last-ditch suicide attempt. Not the right context for extorting information out of him, and then acting on said information. There was always the chance that Polly had kept the information of where Krish was hidden somewhere else. But even Polly wouldn't be that stupid. Finally, we had target number 5, the complete question mark. I had taken a single step toward identifying them. Vels. That was their name. And that was as far as I got. Vels appeared to be a complete enigma, even more so than Locke or Laverna. I knew nothing of Vels' motivations. I knew nothing of Vels' actions. I did know that Vels had arm tattoos of lightning, which is curious. But alas. I did know that Vels was seen every now and then with Krish. That was about it. And even that last piece of information wasn't even a frequent occurrence. People I interviewed, they said they also barely knew Vels. What was Vels' deal? This whole thing, this was the biggest question mark presented to me. I should know more about Vils, right? Then how? I shook my head. If I knew nothing about Vils, then plotting this bullet was very difficult. As far as I saw it, I had really one useful fact that might be converted into a tactic. If Vils was seen hanging out with Krish, then perhaps it could be intuited that if Krish was put in harm's way, Vils might make an appearance. It was an iffy bet, but it was the best one I had. One problem. To try and get Vils to come out, I need to put Krish in danger. That involved actually getting to Krish again. To put Krish in danger, I need to extort that out of Polly. To get Polly to suicide unalive. Currently, I didn't know a way to get to Polly that wasn't either extremely risky or a guaranteed suicide mission. That's not even mentioning how I was going to get Laverta out to play. And Locke! Locke was barely less of a phantom than Vels. God, fuck! Where did that leave me? Utterly directionless. It was so annoying. I could see the direction I needed to move towards, but I couldn't figure out how to move that way. It was like a really complicated puzzle. The objective was clear, but it feels as if I'd exhausted every available method. Come back with nothing to show for myself. Except for the puzzle, you're theoretically assured that there was an actual solution out there, somewhere. That some combination of moves would bring you to the answer you sought. But this? No such thing. It was a scary idea. Conventional wisdom says anything you put your mind to, you can accomplish. Really, how accurate is that? You'd think if that was true, a lot more would get accomplished. Seems like an awful lot of people have their minds set to things, and have absolutely nothing to show for themselves. Was it ever possible for me to succeed Odin, surpass art? Was there any combination of events that would have allowed that to happen? I mean, yes, physically speaking, there was probably some set of choices on my part that could lead to that outcome. Could I, me with my personality, my disposition, ever plausibly reach that set of choices? The more I thought about it, the more dejected I got. Maybe everything was possible for the best of us. Maybe. But categorically speaking, not everybody can be the best. That's what the best entails. Better than most people. If you're not the best, what is possible starts to shrink rapidly. Okay then, just become the best. Simple, right? I didn't know anymore if that was simple. Odin certainly seemed to think it was. But then, from what I could tell, humans could only reasonably control a few things. Our will, and what we do with it. That's useful, sure, but only so far. Think about it in another light, the will in itself isn't inherently useful. It's like you could be put in a concrete cell and be given a spoon to break your way out. Theoretically, if you wanted to, you could even eventually break out of the cell using that spoon. The real world, though, you'd likely starve before you made a dent. Similarly, you might have the will to become the best. For most people, that just wouldn't happen. It was unfair. And that was bad. And it was inevitable, maybe. At least it seemed pretty inevitable as far as I could tell. But this whole thing was too high-minded for me. But what wasn't inevitable was how many people didn't understand this. I mean, I sure hadn't until very recently. I always viewed things as Odin taught me to. much as I hated to admit it. Like most things stemming from Odin, my past way of thinking was toxic. I always thought that my failures were my fault. Was that right? Maybe. Sometimes it definitely was. Like that drone ambush. Totally reasonable for me to have not fallen for that shit. Yet I was also failing to find my targets in a reasonable time frame. Was it possible to find them? To come up with a solution? Well, maybe. I had to think so, since they all existed in this city somewhere. And yet the more I thought about it, the more unreasonable it felt to actually expect me to have killed them all by now. So then... this was all too high level for me. This has been a half hour of high level thinking. Wasn't good at this type of thinking. I never have been. Regardless of all that, the fact was, I still needed to find the 5 targets. We spent a half hour so far setting the stage for something. At the very least, this is the... We've yet to prove that this episode is little any more than a clip show. That's how I made it right. No, that was how I proved my word. I had to find them. My inability to do so was frustrating to no end. Perhaps I had reached a level of self-anger so extreme that I had defaulted to ignoring the problem in front of me by thinking about extraneous things. Whatever the case, I had to focus up. It was a lie to say I had no leads. I had at least one way to get to each of them. Just need to find the right combination, the right plan. Think. What will lure Lockout? How do I draw Laverna's attention? Is there any way to isolate Polly? Any other way to track down Grish? Is there another fact I know about Vels, one I can use? No. I just couldn't. I'd been walking around aimlessly for what felt like hours, and I had come no closer to an answer. Despair filled my body. But once again, like giving up. And then... Huh? Who was calling me at a time like this? I took the phone out of my pocket. Oh. This asshole... The number wasn't identified by my phone. It was identified by me. This was the asshole who gave me that tip. Who launched the drone at me. They somehow got my number and contacted me before. Now they were doing it again. What was this for? Just to taunt me? I wanted to just hang up. But, well, I had nothing else. Why not? Let's just see what they have to say. What is it? Not feeling too good. I was greeted by a cold but familiar voice. One that was automated, twisted, warped. The caller wanted to remain anonymous, so they were using a filter while contacting me. Did I know them then? Or was it just paranoia? Perhaps they had the reasonable assumption that I would run into them at some point or another. Oh, why was I giving this so much thought? Matter of fact, I'm not. Sorry to hear that. Why is that? A lot of reasons, really. One, I got totally duped by you. Duped? What do you mean? Oh, don't play dumb with me. It's not funny. I promise you I do not think this is funny either. Meeting spot. You said Laverna would be there. You lied. Instead, I was ambushed by that drone of yours. Yes, well, apologies, that was a miscalculation on our end. Our? Slip up or misdirect? No, focus on the now. At any rate, you should know that you were not willfully deceived. Things happen. You should understand. You didn't happen to be compromised, right? Of course not. I'm a professional. Of course, right. That's good to hear. It'd be troubling to hear that you were put in jeopardy, Mr. Desma. Dropping a last name card, huh? Voice hadn't gone for that little power play last time. Normally I'd recoil at that. At this point I was a little numb to it all. That right? It is. Though I get why you might be skeptical. Anyway, I call bearing some good news. Not interested. Oh? Why so sour? Just told you why. Oh, come now. Let's not let a poor first foot forward get behind a blossoming relationship. Blossoming relationship? Huh. If you want me to have any sort of relationship with you, drop the voice alterer. Then, maybe we'll talk. I'm afraid I can't do that, Devon. And that settles things. Oh, that's kind of sad. There's a pause. I didn't give the voice what they were looking for. Look, Devon, I want to make it up to you. What can I do to help? Is there anything I can do? Anything at all? Telling the truth here was stupid. I had absolutely no idea who I was dealing with. What their possible agenda might be. For all I knew, I was about to majorly shoot myself in the foot. But I was just so tired. Tired of beating around the bush, tired of being clueless. So, screw it. Why not play it straight? I want to kill 5 people. If you could help me with killing any one of them, then maybe I'd feel some appreciation. For a moment I heard nothing. That voice must have been a bit taken aback, not expecting this response. Then a few seconds later the voice continued. 5 people, huh? Someone's planning to be quite busy. Yep. Well, I said I'd do what I could to help you out. So why don't you tell me who those people are? I'll see what I can do. Fine. These are the 5 names of the people I want to kill. Laverna, Locke, Polydesma, Krishtavaki, Vels. Quite a list you've got there. You're familiar? Of course I'm familiar. That's the thing you're going to learn about me, Devon. I'm always familiar. Are you the devil? So you want these people dead? Alright then. That can be arranged. I could feel my ears physically perking up. Stay calm. Don't let this jackass yank your chain. He was talking shit. That was all this was. Oh, I'm listening. Well, actually, this kind of ties into the good news I was calling to tell you. Look, I'm about to text you a location. Tell me when you get it. Seconds later, and sure enough, my phone gets a text. I looked to check it, and indeed it was a set of coordinates. Going into the map app, I plotted them in and saw where it landed me. Found they led to a pretty cruddy hotel not too far from here. Huh. Did you see it? Yeah, I got it. Great. I'm also going to text you a link that will take you to a website. When you're on the website, it'll give you a distance. That distance will change to get closer and farther from the target. Get closer. The target. Yes, right. You said you want to be able to kill those 5 people, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is the key to it all. The key. Right. Go to this apartment, kill the owner, search the room. From there, I'm certain you'll be able to clean out that whole list of yours. Is that right? And you're giving this out, what, for free? Of course not. The war doesn't work that way. I thought you'd know that, Devon. Fact of the matter is, I already want that target dead. So this helps both of us. Win-win. The best type of arrangement. Who is this target, anyways? That's... I think it would just be easiest if you go find out for yourself after you kill them. I didn't like that response one bit. Honestly, I wasn't too fond of this whole phone call. Why should I trust you? Last time you gave me a tip, it went to shit. Why should I believe this time is any different? That killing this person will actually get me what I want. Why, huh? The eternal question. Truth is, maybe you shouldn't trust me. From your perspective, I'm sure this is all very sketchy. The truth is, I have no way to prove I'm being genuine. That said, something tells me that you don't have a lot of options right now. That if you did, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. That's what I thought. So look, if you don't want to bother, that's perfectly fine. Got other ways of handling this. The hard part's certainly done for me. But I figured this would be up your alley. Up my alley. You know I don't kill for fun, right? Yeah, whatever. Look, I just gifted you the golden keys to the kingdom. Know whether you use them or not. It's up to you. I'm rooting for you, though. Just like that, they hang up? What did the voice take me for? Some pawn who could be pushed around. It wasn't so easily manipulated. That's sad. That was a weird long shot to throw on the voice's part. I mean, it was an altered voice. Who's to say how legit it was? But even still, if they were completely bullshitting, then they were doing a pretty good job of it. I really couldn't tell. What made me think that the voice didn't have my best interests at heart? Mostly the false ambush thing, I guess. The way the voice was talking, it sounded like they didn't expect things to end up like that. Did I buy that? What would somebody who knew my phone number and last name gain by sending out a drone like that? Not a lot, I had to guess. Then what had really happened? Maybe Laverna was told the meeting time. She got suspicious and decided to send a drone in her place. Entirely possible. Like, it wouldn't be entirely unreasonable that, like, it feels like maybe Lav might not be so directly, suspicious of those requests. This feels like something Eris would do. Try and backtrace the requests, get suspicious of them, and send out a drone. That seems like an Eris move more than a Lav move. But certainly not unreasonable that someone of the Smith sisters got suspicious and sent a drone out. That on paper sounded quite plausible. Although from the bits I did know about Laverna, I had to say I didn't quite peg that as her style. The making judgment calls on someone's style was a pretty asinine way of going about it. Occam's razor suggested yes, Laverna sent the drone, so I could trust the voice. No, I wouldn't go that far. They were hiding their identity after all. Weirdly, they didn't explain who I'd be confronting. The only person I could really trust was Miss Aisha. But still, did I not just give up hope? Had I not concluded finding my targets was an impossibility? To face that, really, what's the worst that could happen? That I die? Huh. I had been prepared for that possibility for a while. In comparison, if the voice was telling the truth, this could be the one chance for a breakthrough. I gave it some serious thought. Weighed all the pros and cons. Tried to think things through for myself. Finally, I ended up just sighing and shrugging my shoulders. In the end, I wasn't some mastermind type. I wasn't a detective. Not a schemer. I was an assassin, good for one thing: killing. From the start, this whole idea that I would be able to construct some master plan by myself was flawed. Just now I had been pointed in the direction of the person to kill. I should follow through on orders. Simple as that. So with nothing else to lose, I began making my way to the hotel. Usually I'd prepare, make a more thought-out plan. I was done with that. I had the pistol, loaded with 6 bullets. A few other tricks up my sleeve as well. That's all I'd need. Luckily for me, it didn't take long to get to the hotel. Location was also in that bad part of Panthea. I entered the front doors, naturally. I was greeted with a receptionist as well as a camera. Ah, damn. Guess I really was on my last leg of life. I tried to work up the effort to care. I found it just wasn't there. I walked right past the receptionist toward the nearby staircase. As far as she was concerned, I was just another guest. Or failing that, meeting up with a guest. When I reached the staircase, I stood next to a supply closet and took out my phone again. Let's see. Sure enough, like the voice said, they texted me a link to a website. I clicked on a link and my phone's browser took me to a very simple site. It only had one thing on it: a counter. This must be it. I began to walk up the stairs some more. The number went down. Alright then. Walked up some more. Then some more. Flight after flight I climbed until finally I noticed the number increasing. Went back down and walked around the floor. There. It was pretty clear that this must be the room. This hotel didn't seem particularly classy. In fact, judging by the distance of the other doors, I guessed this apartment was actually pretty small. Who lived here? Whatever. The door was locked, but it wasn't some fancy electronic lock. Good old-fashioned knob lock. This was nothing. Learning to get past these was one of the first things I decided to learn when I dedicated myself to becoming Aisha's unfailing weapon, her Guningiri. No mere walls would block my strike. Got down on one knee and took out my lockpicking set. All the tools I kept on me were shifted depending on what I was feeling. Never went anywhere without these. Let's see how much effort this hotel decided to put into security. Not a lot, apparently. In about a couple of seconds I could feel it give way. This was it. No turning back. Opening this door would be a threshold of sorts. It was a thoroughly irrational feeling. I felt it strongly nonetheless. But somehow, my decision whether to open this door or not would fundamentally shape how my life plays out. Maybe it wasn't such an irrational instinct, though. I mean, I'd already passed by a witness and a camera. I was entering with an intention to kill. If I had finished through with a hit, almost certainly I would be eventually caught and arrested. So obviously this was a decision. But no, that wasn't the reason. It was something else. Whatever. I opened the door. Nothing would stop me at this point. Slowly I stepped foot into the apartment. It was dark, with the main lights not yet turned on. Pulled out my pistol and stepped forwards very softly. I didn't want to alert my target that I was entering. They'd know I was there when they saw me holding a pistol to their skull. Inside the room there was a closed door to the left. In front of me there was a bit of a hallway which led to the main area of the room. To the light there was a closet, doors open. Took a few more steps into the apartment, closing the door behind me. As I did this, the contents of the closet caught my eye. It was all filled with all sorts of different clothing. There was no common aesthetic to this wardrobe. I just couldn't get any feel for this person's personality just by looking at this. Not like I knew a lot about fashion. Besides these outfits, I also saw a bunch of makeup. Tons of foundation, meant for darkening or lightening your skin tone. Contact lenses as well. On the floor were a couple of closed boxes. The voice said if I explored the apartment I'd find leads for my targets. That was after the job. Something far more important came first. Took a few more steps down the hallway into the room proper, pistol at the ready. As I came out of the hallway, I nervously scanned left and right, looking for any signs of life. But nothing. I didn't see anybody living in the apartment. To the left there was a bed, not made. To the right, a couch with junk splayed on it, as well as a chair in front of a desk which housed a laptop I was currently on. Slightly absent-mindedly, I walked further into the room. Something on the couch caught my eye. Lying haphazardly next to a bag was a sleek black mask. One I recognized as belonging to the shadow of Panthea. Was it a replica? Or was this... No, forget that. What interested me now more was what was open on the laptop. The side of the laptop had some sort of USB plugged into it. However, currently open on the computer was some sort of social media website. Kamapa. I'd heard of it, yeah. Briefly clocked the computer owner's account. Olif. I was going to check the computer for more information, but just then I heard the sound of a door opening behind me. Olif and Thane? Instantly I spun around, pistol at the ready. I caught the figure dead in their tracks. Exiting for the door I passed by, which I now guessed was probably a restroom, was a figure. Instantly I thought I recognized them. But what? Okay, we're getting all kinds of mixed messages here. The pants they were wearing was unmistakably the type I had seen Locke wearing. But what? But then why were the figure's eyes silver? Silver just like Laverna's were in the picture I had of her. What? And then I noticed a detail I should have instantly noticed. The figure's arms were encircled with lightning tattoos. What? With a jolt, I held the pistol up higher, aimed straight at the lightning figure's head. My hand shook. My finger was right against the trigger. Who? Who are you? I can explain. What? Okay. I'm... Locke? Thane? Olaf is Eris. Are the... Is Eris too? Locke? What? You know, I actually think I'll stay quiet on this one. Just one little thing to resolve. The bet. Oh, you're gonna screw me on this, aren't you? The text of the bet mentioned Devon gathering 5 individuals. I don't think that's going to be happening. Sorry, your loss. Don't worry about it too much. You're up against something that cleverer people have lost to. Uh? Wait, what? Wait, main menu. Main menu. Oh shit, I'm really fucked. Ahem, alright. Vels? Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. What? That would explain why Laverna wanted to gather up the evidence of the people who would want to gather up the physical evidence left at the scene of Polly's house fire. Because she was there as Vels. Anything Vels left behind would implicate Locke, or whoever the fuck these people really are. Somehow took the place of Thane. Does that mean that they were also Mercury? Or whoa? What? Olaf's laptop and Kamapa account, Thane's helmet, Vels' tattoos, Locke's pants, Laverna's eyes. What is this? What? What? Yeah, so this is the one that brings everything together. There's no more... We have Locke's final episode. Devon's final episode. Mercury's final episode gets the Jade Key. Should bring everything together. That is a lot to process. Holy shit. What?